Mental health is almost a buzzword. We see it all the time in Instagram, on YouTube ads, and in assemblies, school assemblies. We sit through these crowded bleachers listening from not so great speakers as adults we don't really relate with talk to us about some abstract topic. And it's just that, abstract. It's hard to measure. You can measure your physical health by looking in the mirror or going to the doctor, for example. They'll take your heart rate and your blood sugar. But how do we measure mental health? And at this point, we're almost desensitized to the topic too. I'm willing to bet that every person in here has heard someone say at least once, "Oh my God, I just failed a math, science, history test. I'm gonna kill myself." And maybe we joke about mental health because we don't know how to talk about it. Or maybe it's because we're too afraid to. At any rate, the problem remains. It's a serious, serious problem for many, many student athletes. And we want to make it clear that engaging in athletics won't instantly give you anxiety or depression. For Sreyas and I, it was just a part of our struggles with mental health. But it didn't start out that way. I joined cross country in the COVID-19 pandemic when I was stuck behind a screen for 8+ hours a day, cooped up in my house with my 2 siblings and parents. I was looking for an escape, any escape to get out of the house and connect with the high school I had never even set foot on. And cross country was that for me. It was a great social extracurricular, and I met a ton of fantastic people, many of whom are some of my best friends today. And beyond that, because I was just starting out, I had no expectations or pressures on myself. I just went out and tried to do my best.
For me, I started running freshman year and I almost instantly fell in love with it. With the people, support, community, training, and honestly, the competition. But what I really loved about it was that I was doing it for myself. Unlike school where I was performing for academic standards, grades, my parents' satisfaction, here, I was doing it for myself, me.
I got more serious about sports my sophomore year after a summer of off-season training. I knew what I wanted to run and how I could get there. I worked with the coaches to create reasonable goals for myself, and I still enjoyed running. I still loved hanging out with my friends, and I actually met Sreyas, so it was pretty cool. But at the end of the day, I was still having a great time and just going out and running. I was still in JV, so there wasn't a lot expected of me.
By sophomore year, I'd become pretty decent at my sport, and I was finally starting to see all the work I'd put in pay off. By the end of the season, I had won the 2-mile and league finals, becoming the Frostoff 2-mile league champion. And with this, I realized I had a potential in the sport. And so, from my newfound success, I started pushing myself harder than I ever had before. Over summer, from sophomore to junior year, I was running 50+ miles a week with intense workouts that I added because I saw somewhere on the internet that they would make me faster, even though my coaches advised against it. But by mid-season, I was so burnt out every day after practice.
And that's not an uncommon thing. According to the NCAA, 38% and 22%, 38% of female and 22% of male student athletes feel mentally exhausted most days or constantly. Let that sink in. Constantly.
Mentally exhausted. That's exactly how I felt. My grades declined, my athletic performance fell, and my mental health hit an all-time low. I pushed people away and I fell into a mindless rut. I was stuck in a loop with no way out. To be honest, all I needed was a break. Even though my body hurt walking through campus every day, I felt obligated to stay with the team, my team. I lost a connection with the sport and I wanted to quit. I couldn't quit because my team needed me, or that's what I told myself, when the reality was I couldn't quit because I still loved the sport.
I'm gonna see if this one works too. Like Sreyas, I felt pressured to perform to everyone's expectations. I'd been a leader on the team, even as an underclassman, and I felt like I had to lead from the front. Due to various challenges in my personal life, I struggle with depression, self-harm, and suicidal ideation, and all of these things made it really, really difficult to love athletics. And to be honest, athletics started to drag me down too. On one hand, they provided me with a sense of community and safety. I got to hang out with my friends and exercise, feel the sun on my face, and go explore the neighborhood I was growing up in. On the other hand, I felt like I had to punish myself for letting myself and my teammates down with slow times that didn't match the impossible goals I was setting for myself. I felt that I had to just push out more reps and more workouts, run harder, do more to just become a better athlete, rather than addressing the core problems I was dealing with.
For me, first semester junior year was tough, to say the least. I was constantly getting injured. I'd gotten 2 knee injuries, a hip injury, and shin splints twice. Racing at a high level, we set school records and we went to states. But I pushed myself too far. By Scaval finals, I was so injured that I couldn't race and I was forced to sit out. By CCS, I somehow managed to get on the line, but by the time I crossed the finish line, I was in so much pain that I couldn't feel my legs, and I was put in a wagon and wheeled around the course. Whenever I was injured, I couldn't help my team. I sat on a stationary bike pedaling away in place while my teammates went out on runs. I couldn't do anything but watch my teammates go out, get faster and stronger, while I did everything I could to hold low levels of fitness.
And my junior year of track, I got injured and was out for roughly 10 weeks. To top that, because of the rigorous school schedule and sports program I was putting myself through, I was very, very sleep deprived. To compensate, I chugged energy drinks and popped tons of caffeine pills. Yes, they exist. No, please don't try them. And all of these gave me a really nasty caffeine addiction that gave me headaches every time I tried to compete. Those, coupled with the terrible injury I kept seeming to have, made it really, really hard to love track. It was insanely demotivating. I realized that I didn't actually want to compete in track. All I wanted was a space to hang out with my friends with the sport I loved doing. And for me, this caused a vicious, unending cycle of letting myself down because I couldn't reach these impossible times. And even when I won, I was never satisfied. It was never enough for me. And this didn't end, for me at least, until I joined Ultimate Frisbee, of all things. Ultimate Frisbee revived my love of athletics and games. I'd forgotten how great it is to just play something for fun because you want to. I had no expectations, no pressures on myself, and I went out every Tuesday and every Thursday and just played. It was great. But this caused me to reflect about the differences between my track experience and my Ultimate Frisbee experience, and I realized I didn't need to be doing all the things I had been doing previously.
And I discovered this for myself too at the end of my cross-country season this year. And it helped me rekindle my love for running. I realized the pressures on me weren't from others, but rather I was mirroring them off of them because I expected them to place those pressures upon me. I remembered why we originally played the sports we do: to have fun, to enjoy life. I began loving the process by which I trained, celebrating all the small milestones I reached with my teammates, and most of all, I didn't stop pushing myself to compete. I simply did so sustainably. I still hurt during workouts, but now I push until my breaking point and not past it.
And this year, as a senior, I redefined how I wanted to participate in cross country. Rather than running for unreasonable times, I ran for pure enjoyment. I decided to emphasize the leadership role I had been in since joining and decided to cultivate runners in the community I had been growing with since freshman year. I joined lacrosse for my goals and to just have fun. I wanted to try a contact sport. I wanted to play a game with a team rather than running individually. And I found that by taking responsibility and taking initiative on my actions, I could love athletics again.
So what changed? Sam and I altered our mentality to encompass what we want of athletics and not what others wanted out of us. By doing this, we took control of our lives and how we compete, train, and honestly, live our lives. I want to make it clear that we're not saying and sharing our stories just because we want you to settle or to give up, but rather, all we're asking is that student athletes consider their goals and prioritize sustainable ones. Push yourself, strive for what you can, and don't forget why you do the things you do. My name is Sreyas Kadiyala.
I'm Sam Stein.
And we thank you for coming to our TEDx Talk.